Serving the crossroads of America. This is Crossroads.
Good morning and welcome to Crossroads. This morning we're talking with Kelli Higgins, the State Outreach Manager for the Autism Society of Indiana. Let's get started.
So just starting out, for those who don't know, what exactly is the Autism Society of Indiana?
The Autism Society of Indiana is a nonprofit organization. We service the whole state of Indiana. And we have a lot of different programs that helps individuals and families affected by autism find information, resources, services. We have a lot of events going on throughout the whole state, throughout the whole year. It's just, we are here to help those who are in need of help, who are affected by autism.
So what does your day-to-day as the State Outreach Manager look like?
My job is a little different from some of our other programs. I am the State Outreach Manager, and I do all of our big major events. We have one coming up on April 27th at the Indiana State Fairgrounds. It is at the Blue Ribbon Pavilion. It's called the Autism Ability Fest.
And before we jump into events and programs and stuff, we keep saying autism, and people hear that a lot. What exactly is autism?
Good question. So autism is called autism spectrum disorder, and there are 3 criteria that you need to meet to be diagnosed with autism. One of the criteria is social skills, kind of lack of social skills. Another one is communication, and then the other is sensory, having a lot of deficits with sensory issues.
And are there ages where it's more common for people to be diagnosed with autism?
We prefer individuals, if you suspect, especially like your child, to get them diagnosed as early as possible, because early intervention is key for individuals who get diagnosed earlier. It just helps get those supports in place, therapies in place. There are individuals who do get diagnosed later as, teenager years, or we even have adults on the spectrum get diagnosed at later times.
So what should parents look for if they're looking to say, like, hey, maybe I should talk to a physician or something like that?
Yeah, there are a lot of different kind of signs you kind of see. I have both my daughters have autism, and so you just start noticing those milestones that you talk with your pediatrician about. What's really neat is that the pediatricians at 12 months have a kind of a screening tool called the MChat, and it kind of goes through a list of behaviors, things you start to notice that might be not on the milestone scale, and then you start talking to your pediatrician about it. So some of those signs could be lack of eye contact, communication, not speaking words, at a certain time. They tend to withdraw from like social situations. My daughters, one of them kind of flaps when she gets excited and overwhelmed. My other daughter is very hypersensitive, which means she's overly sensitive. So every sight, sound, smell really bothered her. And when she would go into a room, she's looking around to find the fire alarm, because fire alarms scare her because they are unknown and you never know when they're going to go off. My youngest daughter, she is hyposensitive. So that means she's undersensitive and she has no sense of safety whatsoever. And she has a high pain tolerance, so it's hard to tell when she is sick or hurting. And she also has a lot of food issues where she overstuffs, especially like soft foods like bread. She'll like keep shoving it in her mouth and shoving the mouth till it's like full, and she just can't feel in her mouth to know not to eat that much. So there's a lot, and autism is so hard to diagnose because every individual you meet with autism is different. All their signs and symptoms are different from one another. So it's just really hard and difficult to diagnose. And girls, especially, because they get diagnosed a little bit differently than boys do.
What are the differences between boys and girls?
So girls, especially girls, they tend to be slightly a little more social. And so they typically get kind of diagnosed a little bit later than boys.
So what is the importance of diagnosing as early as possible?
It is extremely important because, like I mentioned earlier, you start getting your supports in place for the young child on the spectrum. And that could be a lot of different things, from family support, friend support. You contact the Autism Society of Indiana, and we can help guide you through all the processes. We give you resources. We can really help you step by step through this journey.
And something you had mentioned a little bit earlier is that there are adults that don't get diagnosed until adulthood. So what's kind of the difference for them?
It's so interesting with the adults, because they, as they're probably growing up, they probably do realize when they were growing up that they were kind of different from others. And nowadays, the diagnosing criteria and the autism awareness is more prevalent. The awareness is more prevalent. And so they're talking to their doctors more openly about it. So there's not that stigma about having autism. So they typically, the older adults are now seeking out people to diagnose, and they get that diagnosis, which kind of helps open up some support systems to help them learn how to some coping skills.
You mentioned the stigma around autism. What is that?
The stigma of autism kind of varies between individuals. There's always that fear of parents, my child just got diagnosed and they're going to be treated differently. Or the fear is that, the diagnosis is so devastating that you just cannot grasp around it and get those services that they need quickly. So there are a lot of, you find some individuals kind of in denial about it. Because something I did realize, with both my daughters getting diagnosed, is that as a parent, you go through the grieving process. And it took me a long time to realize that's what it was. It's a grieving process. And then I realized my husband was doing a similar. He was going through a grieving process. And as we all know, grieving processes are different for each person. And so once you get through that process and come to acceptance, that's when you just, hunker down and get going and, get the services in place, which is either through the schools or private. I mean, there's just so many different options. And that's, what the Autism Society can do is we can help you figure out what is the best option for you and your family.
So as a parent that has been through this, if there's a parent that, maybe thinks that their child could be autistic, or even if they've just found out that they are, what advice would you give them?
There's a couple steps that I recommend you doing is obviously talk to your pediatrician to find the closest either a developmental pediatrician or a clinician that can, diagnose autism. The second is to contact us at the Autism Society of Indiana. We have area support coordinators throughout the whole state that know about the resources in that area, and they'll be able to kind of help guide you through the processes. The other thing is we'll talk to you about what's called the Medicaid waiver. Is the state program, and that's a whole nother interview to go into because it's big, but it is something that every family needs to know about and to get for the individual with autism. And it's a process. It takes about 9 months to get it, but it is completely worth it. Another thing to do is find your supports. Go online, find, support groups, or go to support groups throughout the whole state. Just get those people around you and get your village and get them ready to go for you.
And something you had mentioned were resources from the Autism Society of Indiana. Where exactly do those resources come into play? What are you guys offering?
We offer, we have a database that we're using. It's called The Finder, and it has all the resources in Indiana listed. And so that's one way that we, can help you find resources that, are for you to use. We also make sure that we know what kind of resources are in each area. We also have different programs. We have our family individual support program, which is that individualized program to help you find those resources, And then we also have our direct care program, which provides respite for families to kind of get that break they need. We also have career services to help those individuals 14 and older to start thinking about employment or even to help them find employment. And then we have our outreach program, which is what I'm involved with, to kind of help spread that awareness and to help the communities, find what they need.
Do you know off the top of your head how the Autism Society was started?
So the Autism Society of Indiana is part of a national affiliate called the Autism Society of America. So and each affiliate is different. Our affiliate is for the whole state. Like the Ohio affiliates, there's like 5 different ones. So we are the affiliate for the whole state of Indiana. And what makes us really unique is that we don't pay like any dues to the national. So all the money, the donations that we get stay right here in Indiana. So it's 100% here helping Hoosiers affected by autism.
And I had read on your website that your vision was over the next 5 years to open 5 new locations.
Absolutely.
Where are you with that?
Right now, we opened up a new location in Fort Wayne, our newest location. We are very excited. Fort Wayne is such a unique community up there that they really have a lot of good resources for families affected by autism. And then we are currently looking for our second location. We're still trying to decide, do we want to go stay on the northwest side of Indiana or maybe go into the southern Indiana? Because southern Indiana desperately needs a lot more resources and help because of there's just not a whole lot down there.
So how do you kind of choose locations then?
We're choosing locations based on the needs. Like I said, we have area support coordinators throughout the whole state, and it's kind of what they're seeing. So what would be the next logical place to go is what we're looking at.
You mentioned all the different programs earlier that you guys provide, and we wanted you to elaborate a little bit on each of them for those that aren't familiar with the kind of support you guys provide. Can you tell us a little bit about the family and individual support?
So the Family Individual Support Program is through our area support coordinators, and our area support coordinators live in the communities throughout the whole state of Indiana. So they are very familiar of what kind of resources, what kind of support groups, what kind of their programs. They also do workshops, trainings about like Autism 101s, which are free to the community. So we've done trainings with like fire departments, teachers, therapists, churches, for, to help the individuals or help the churches, be a little more inclusive. And then they also, they do like events in their area to kind of bring more awareness.
And the direct care program.
So our direct care program is funded through the Medicaid waiver, and we provide respite. And respite is where caregivers and parents can get that break. We have a direct care provider that'll come to your home to work with the individual with autism, kind of to be with them, and so the parent can go on a date night or go finish up a hobby, or if the parents just simply wants to stay home and let's say do laundry, they have someone there watching the individual with autism that's in a safe environment. We also, through our direct care program, have what's called PAC, PAC, which is the Participant Assisted in Care. This is slightly different than respite. It is more goal oriented. So I use PAC for my oldest daughter during the summer. And what my direct care provider does for her is to help her, like, for example, how to organize her room, how to clean out your closet, helps her with those life skills that she needs to learn how to be independent. And the direct care provider also will take her out into the community, to take her to like parks, or maybe go to the library to find a book, or simply maybe let's go to the grocery store and learn how to find, you have a budget of $20. What can you get for $20? And they learn how to budget money and going through the whole process. So that's kind of difference between respite.
We'll be
Welcome
right
back
back
with more
We're
Crossroads.
still talking with Kelli Higgins, the State Outreach Manager for the Autism Society of Indiana. Let's get back into it.
You've mentioned a few times the Medicaid waiver, and I know it's a whole nother interview, but very briefly, can you elaborate on that?
So the Indiana Medicaid waiver is also for individuals who have been diagnosed with autism. And it is a grueling process, I'll be completely honest. You fill out the application online, or you can fill it out in the paper. And then you also have to get papers filled out from your doctor to confirm the diagnosis. And then once you get on the waiver, which takes about in total about 9 months, what happens is that you have to pick a case management to help you budget the money that you get, which is about average $17,000 a year, what you can do with that money is use it for extra services like respite, like PAC. You can use it for behavior therapy. You can use it for music therapy. You can use it for recreation therapy. These are therapies outside of like the school daytime. So it's extra funding that you can use to help your individual with autism. It also, you are on Medicaid. So what that does is the individual will be on Medicaid, and it'll be your secondary insurance. So if you go to your primary insurance and then you have that leftover copay, Medicaid will pick that up for you and help pay for that.
Jumping back into all the programs, what is the Career and Work Readiness Program?
So the Career Work and Readiness Program is very unique. It is funded through the vocational rehabilitation, and we have career specialists here in Indianapolis and in Fort Wayne to help individuals who are 14 years old and older to find employment. So if you're a young teen individual, what we can do is help you figure out what do you want to do. And then we take them step by step. Let's, how do you do a resume? Let's, help you how to do an interview. And then we can go with them to interviews if they need that additional support. And then if they get the job, then we work with the individual and the employer on helping make sure they meet their goals and that the job is meaningful. So that's kind of what our career specialists do and help individuals with autism.
One more program you guys have is obviously community outreach. But on the flip side of that, what do you need from the community to succeed?
So community outreach, we have a lot of events going on throughout the whole state. One of our newer events is called Relay for Autism, and we have 3 of those going on this fall, one in Fort Wayne, one in Highland, Indiana, and one in Terre Haute. And it's a really fun and family-friendly event, and it helps bring awareness to the community. It will have a autism resource fair with providers. It will have a lot of entertainments for the families to come and enjoy. And then what's really special this time, we are allowing the attendees to create teams, and you can have one team member walk throughout the whole event through the whole time, and also can help raise money to help individuals in your community, then to help us be able to provide that to the community. We also have a program called Soaring for Autism. Soaring for Autism helps individuals come to the Indianapolis International Airport. What's really fun about it is they get to park wherever they want for free. So a lot of them like to park in long term. So they get to ride the shuttle bus, which a lot of them just love and think that's the best thing ever, and they're done for the rest of the day. But they also get to go to the ticketing area to get tickets. They go through security, like everyone will go through security. They go to the gate area. And what was my favorite part about the whole program is at the gate area, they have to wait, just like you normally would on a day of travel. And then they have to get to board an airplane. They have to find their seats, put the seatbelts on. They go through all the announcements, all the sounds that you hear from the bells. And then after they get off the plane, they go to the baggage claim and get a special, little gift bag. So it's just a really good program, and it takes you through the whole process. So we have a sporting event coming up on May 5th with the Indianapolis Indians. And what it is doing is you get special discount tickets and seating. And during the game, if you get kind of overwhelmed, we have a sensory room for you to go and just you can still be part of the game and part of the experience, but it's just, a place to give you a break. We also work with the Indianapolis Colts, Indiana Pacers, Indiana Fevers, Indy 11, with all the professional sporting teams.
We've mentioned it at the beginning, but I really wanted to talk about this event too, the Autism Ability Fest coming up.
Yes.
Can you tell us more about it?
So this is our formerly known as the Central Indiana Autism Expo. We've changed it, and it's now called the Autism Ability Fest. It is on April 27th at the Indiana State Fairgrounds at the Blue Ribbon Pavilion, and it's from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. It is free for all attendees to come, but obviously, as you know, at the fairgrounds, you have to pay for parking, and parking is now $8 per vehicle, but the event is free. We will have over 70 autism providers and exhibitors ready to talk with you about their services, their resources, information. This is a great time for you to come to get in one spot to talk to every provider in the central Indiana area to kind of help you get those additional supports. We also have a lot of entertainments. Microsoft is coming. They're bringing their adaptive game controller and a virtuality experience. We'll have a photo booth area, kind of a red carpet feel, where you get your photo taken. We have a cosplay player group coming from Fort Wayne, superheroes and princesses. And so you'll be getting your pictures taken there. We have the Indiana Pacers and the Indiana Fever coming. They're bringing 2 inflatable games, and also Freddy Fever's coming, so you can get your photo taken with Freddy Fever. The Indianapolis Colts is providing one of their inflatable games where you are the quarterback throwing a ball to the receivers. Indy 11 is coming. They're bringing soccer goals and soccer balls for individuals to kind of have fun experience with. We have 2 separate model trains coming for people to look at. We've got fire departments coming to show off their equipment. We have TSA Indy coming to show off what it's like to be screened, and they'll bring the wand and everything. And then we have hopefully some face painters coming. And then we have a magician, Cody Magician. He is on the spectrum himself, and he has a great little magic show for all the attendees. And then we have, very new this year, the Central Indiana Enchanted Fairies coming to provide some really special crafts for everybody. So it's different from the expo because this has all the entertainments. And what's really neat about that is, as a parent having 2 daughters with autism, it takes a lot of effort just to go somewhere. And so what we wanted to do was be able to provide information about autism and the resources and still make it worthwhile to have all the other entertainment. So it's like a one-stop shop. It's going to be a lot of fun while you're still finding all the resources.
And if someone's interested in being involved to provide entertainment,
and I forgot one thing about it. Sorry. One thing that's really awesome about this, we never had before, we do have a sensory and calming area for during the event. And it's going to be the sensory area is going to be kind of a bigger room that will have like sensory bins and balls. But then what's really fun is we have 2 smaller rooms that are the calming rooms. They'll just have tables and chairs. So if you just need that moment to calm, you can go and just get that break. So that's really exciting to have.
If someone's interested in providing entertainment or providing resources, is there a way for them to do that, or is it too late for this year?
It is not too late for the resources. The resource exhibit registration will be open for about another week. Entertainments, if you're interested, just get a hold of me and we'll see what we can do. The space in the Blue Ribbon is huge, and we're always looking for different types of entertainments.
And this is a really great time for this event because it is Autism Awareness Month. Do you have anything else planned for April?
We do. We have on April 22nd, we are doing kind of like a little ceremony, and we're dyeing the canal green in honor of Autism Awareness Month. And we'll have some city leaders there, doing some brief presentations along with ASI staff. And then on the 27th, after the Autism Ability Fest, go downtown and go look at the IPL building. It's going green in honor of Autism Awareness Month as well.
Is there anywhere that you would recommend if people were listening and they did want some resources available, or they wanted more information, or they didn't really know where to start? Is there anywhere that you would recommend they go?
They contact the Autism Society of Indiana. Our number is 800-609-8449. Or you can send us an email at info@inautism.org. And we'll be able to help guide you on what specific information you're looking for.
And do you have a website available as well?
Our website is www.inautism.
Thank you for joining us for Crossroads this morning.
Thank you for joining us. This has been another episode of Crossroads.